See, there's always been this negative connotation around writer's block and like how to avoid it. But I kind of want to talk about how to embrace it or make it productive. When I find myself really kicking myself in the foot when I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write an entire script by tomorrow. Like that doesn't make any sense. Sometimes I do it, but then I don't feel good about it. And I get people being like, oh, we'll feel good, you did all this, you did all this. It's like, it's not about how much you're accomplishing, and it's not about the quality of the product. It's like kind of about the quality of the circumstances around creating that product. We have to set ourselves up to make writing feel like a rewarding experience. Let's say we only have an hour to write. I'm not going to spend it sitting there like wondering like what I should be writing and kicking myself in the foot, because then after the end of the hour I'm gonna be pretty disappointed. But I did find like a lot of fun in like positive reinforcement, setting minor goals. Let's say like today our goal is to write like 5 log lines. That's it. Like you only have to write a sentence for this stuff. That could be like a really realistic goal as opposed to let me write like a whole 3 chapters. If you say like let's read a whole 3 chapters, you're gonna write a log line and be pretty disappointed. But if you write a log line but then have the inspiration to write like 1 or 2 chapters, then suddenly, you know, you're putting yourself in a rewarding situation. There's what you're putting out there, but mainly there's how you're putting it out there. And that's what really makes us unique as artists. The time you're sitting and writing is very few and far between. It's kind of like going to war. It's like you'll train years and you'll do all this stuff, but you're only gonna be like head to head with like an enemy, you know, a certain amount of time compared to how much you're training and preparing. And that could be a really positive thing in the writing context. Your brain doesn't stop because it wants to work. It stops because it needs a break. And it's always good to follow your instincts. Like if you're writing a chapter and you're not feeling it, don't force yourself to finish it. However, if you have still 10 minutes free, go for a walk. I consider that writing. I consider that making progress on a story that needs to still be complete. Something I also consider writing is reflecting. I think it's safe to say I'm gonna write today and sit down for an hour in silence and just think. That's why a lot of people like to write but beat themselves up about not writing, because they know they're a writer because they're thinking so much all the day. Like they're making stories in their head, they're making sense of stories in their head, they're essentially editing nothing in their head. And then they get annoyed because they're like, oh, that didn't necessarily do anything. But if we learn to like kind of praise those thoughts, and like writer's block could be a positive thing for that. Let's say like you write once a day for an hour every day for a year, but you didn't write anything at all. Is that considered a waste of time? I don't think so, because if you were at least just sitting there reflecting, telling your own stories, you're training yourself. And let's say you only get 1 day out of the year where you actually like put out like a full like script or even a chapter of something. That chapter is going to reflect what were you thinking about. You know, like you're getting better at writing, not by writing, by experiencing life. Sometimes I like to cut myself off from writing even when like I'm having like a good streak, just because I want to reward myself for doing something like that. It's like good to have like a boundary with yourself to be like, okay, this is when I'm going to stop and I'm going to reflect on everything I did so far, as opposed to run through multiple chapters. Every time I write, I want to be like, I've been waiting for this for a long time. I've been training. I've been hanging out with friends. I've been going to work. I've been like practicing reality, and now I want to go and create my reality. Like every time you're not writing is time that makes your writing better. I think it's important to not view writer's block as like a negative thing, and to really embrace it and almost rethink what we consider being productive is. We're trying to create positive experiences. That's why we like to write. We like to capture the positive experiences and share it with other people. But you know what? We can't capture what we're not feeling when we're writing. Writing isn't homework, and it feels like homework, and it doesn't have to be. The off time, the discomfort, like all that stuff is your training. And when you don't take it, you're not training. So if you have any ideas or techniques of how you kind of keep things positive or keep your mental headspace in a good position when you're writing, comment below. I'm curious how everybody else deals with like positivity and writer's block and all that stuff. Have a good day.